Well, hello. Welcome to the Mojave Podcast. I'm your host, Clifford Johnston. It is 6:37 p.m., 5/19/2026. Without further ado, here we go. We're going to be starting with some older stuff from my day. And there's a truck one that was 2 years ago, but
Bus
this
stop bench
increasingly
is
we should be
removed in
talking about
MacArthur
CDLs
Park
when
after
that one
residents
plays.
say homeless people were using it to sleep and do drugs, a small part of a much bigger crisis gripping the area. Fox 11's Matthew Seedorf walked one of the most troubled stretches in a story you'll see only on Fox 11.
We're at another location tonight just for safety reasons, a stark contrast to what's going on just a few miles away. The volatile sights and sounds of MacArthur Park. We're just walking down the sidewalk can spark tension without warning.
No video. People filming?
We're leaving. We're leaving. We're leaving.
I don't know what is that you illegally. I don't give filming.
This man in broad daylight beat to the ground. What's known as the fentanyl fold, impossible to miss, with open drug use in plain sight and needles scattered all over.
They ain't never gonna fix the problem, baby.
Violent, venom, victim. Look at the V vocabulary. It describes Alvarado at 6.
For William Howard Cromedy, staying safe means staying ready. So you gotta talk back.
You gotta talk back. It's rough, too.
He believes the drug epidemic has tightened its grip on the area.
You see them nodding out. And I think that that's going to be a stain on the Olympics and the World Cup that's coming here, the drug problem.
About a week ago, federal agents swarmed in.
All persons complying.
DEA officers raiding businesses, part of a massive drug operation. Then, days later, LAPD here for more arrests, seizing fentanyl, pills, and cash. Despite everything going on in this area, the bus stop right here at 6th and Alvarado was taken away. Apparently, the homeless were using it as a shelter.
Many people sleeping there, doing drugs there.
Sucks. Especially for me, because I was about 6 months pregnant.
Where a bench used to be, Angela Robinson now waits for the bus, standing, 6 months pregnant.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
A bench now missing in a community desperate for relief.
Walking.
And despite recent arrests, many say when the sun goes down, the problems come right back. You noticed a difference since then?
No, because the same rats come out at night.
A spokesperson for Mayor Karen Bass tells us one bench was removed for maintenance, another for public safety reasons. They say this is one small example of the mayor's broad and comprehensive approach to finally improving public safety in MacArthur Park, a problem that's been decades in the making. Matthew Seedorf reporting, Fox 11 News.
So this is the one I was talking about. He just starts driving on like sidewalks. This is from 2 years ago. It says KSL, not the propane one. Look at this. Look at this. Anyone could have just been killed right there. I mean, this is unacceptable. I don't even understand. Like he's like trying to be all stealthy about it. Like I don't even understand what this is. And then here's two sides, or four camera angles. The bottom left one didn't really. The bottom left one, the guy saw it and he ran out. I'm like, what the? Was I seeing things? No, I'm not seeing things. Yeah, oh! Careful, everyone. Because this could be you guys getting crashed into right here. Look at this. You think you're going to be turning left? Look at this guy running across the street for his life. Look at this. My God, I've never seen anything like it. This is 2 years ago, but this is, I don't even know why this isn't all over the news. It's only got 1.4 million views, but, I mean, this is insane. I don't even know how many people were hurt in this. Look at this angle right here. And then it causes an explosion. Watch this. He gets out of the way barely. But look at this one. Look at all the camera angles on this.
Twilla Charlie 2, any available city or county unit that is in Twilla City, if we could get their assistance and send medical down to...
You can't pay me to say that that's acceptable.
To Quality, we now have an
Well,
explosion
you needed the
over
job
Quality.
that much. Oh my God.
And of course, we do want to get to the latest on that right now as we follow several different developments.
So this is 12 hours ago.
Iranian state media now reporting
We're slowly getting back
explosions
into
on
time zone
Iran's
here.
Keshem Island.
I just thought those would be
not
kind of
caused
crazy
by
to show on my
strikes,
channel,
but
just to
rather
kind of
the
reinforce the
disposal
CDL
of
thing we've been driving home.
explosives. Witness accounts
to
began
understand who's
circulating
driving these big
on
rigs,
social
all right?
media a
We
short
need to
time
know.
ago, and the Israel War Room
We need to
posted
make sure that the
this
tests
right
aren't
here
just
on your
fluke.
screen, saying, quote,
They can
initial
speak
report,
English.
Iranian media
Read
reports
English signs.
explosions on Keshem Island. Now, Iran International English posted the same via state media, but followed up with this post here on X. Several consecutive explosions heard on Iran's southern Keshem Island around midday Tuesday were caused by the disposal of unexploded ordnance, a provincial security official told state media. The deputy security governor of that province said specialist teams carried out an operation, and he urged the public not to worry and to ignore rumors on social media. All of these reports coming as Axios reports that President Trump plans to convene a meeting of his top national security advisors that's set for today to discuss potential military options against Iran. As always, there is so much to discuss here, so I do want to bring in Major Doron Spielman, the former spokesperson for the Israel Defense Forces and New York Times best-selling author. He has a lot of titles and wears a lot of hats. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Thank you, Josh. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. And first off, I want to start by talking about these reports of explosions, because every time we hear something like that coming in out of Iran, there are questions about whether the U.S. or Israel or maybe both are carrying out another operation. Is that kind of what goes through your mind when you hear something like that?
I think we have to always have a healthy sense of scrutiny. When Iran says anything, they have a propensity to lie, certainly when it serves them. Although I do think in this case, Josh, that we probably are looking at them exploding an ordnance that was dropped on that area. We have to understand that that island used to be a tourist island. It's located directly in the middle of Hormuz. But Iran, in trying to choke international shipping, turned that island from a tourism center into a military bastion. It would be like taking Ellis Island in New York, making all the tourists go out of the way so that you could threaten every ship sailing into New York Harbor. And it makes sense because both Israel and the U.S. did strike that island. And I think in any future decision and discussion, it's going to have to involve Iran being dislodged from anything that can threaten shipping. And that island is one of the key choke points.
And of course, we're looking at a map here that kind of points out where Keshem Island is in relation to the Strait of Hormuz, which has been a big topic of discussion. When you look at all of this, what is the coordination right now likely like between the U.S. and Israel? I have to imagine that they are still in lockstep when it comes to exactly what happens next, carrying out the mission here against Iran and preventing them from having a nuclear weapon, but also reopening the Strait of Hormuz to everyone to get through.
You know, I think that this will go down in history as probably one of the greatest coordinations between any two militaries. And to put this in perspective, neither Israel or the U.S. is located near this area. Israel's clearly in striking distance because Iran has launched many an array of ballistic missiles. But both the U.S. and Israel are fighting a terrorist entity that is not next door. And at the same time, the ability to coordinate both aerial forces, naval forces, ground forces in the event that they would be used, intelligence is on the most phenomenal level. And I think this will really stand up as really an icon, as a paradigm for the way warfare should be fought between allies. And it It stems really because of the orders given down from the top by President Trump on one hand and Prime Minister Netanyahu on the other. You can see when two leaders really want to coordinate and they send that message down to the militaries, it can be done, which is why we've had very few losses in this entire war and casualties. Every loss, of course, is important, but it's because any other two armies doing this, I think it probably would have been much different. To drill this down, Josh, to the present day, there's no question that this is no longer a war that's just about proxies and just about nuclear weapons. It's about economic arteries. The Gulf now sees that they can never leave Iran in charge of an economic artery where it can just squeeze them. And Israel and the U.S. are coordinated. Hopefully, Europe will come on board into securing that Hormuz will be an international waterway where you can't have a terrorist regime squeeze the life out of democracies whenever it wants to.
It's also important to note that a little less than 24 hours ago, we heard from President Trump as he posted on Truth Social, and essentially the gist of what he had to say was that strikes were actually planned by the U.S. on Iran today. However, due to some of the remarks, some of the pleas from the Gulf Arab countries, especially the allies there, that he's postponed those attacks, those strikes on Iran. What do you make of that overall to publicly kind of make that statement and let Iran know, hey, we were going to strike you today, but I guess we won't?
President Trump means business, and Israel means business. And we've shown that we mean business both in June 2025 and in March 2026. We are willing to do, both of our countries are willing to do what it takes to ensure that Iran does not have any nuclear weapons it can use to confront either of these countries. And at the same time, President Trump is incredibly responsible, and he's been giving Iran chance after chance to do this job themselves. He's asked a very simple thing: give up your enriched uranium, give up your nuclear program, and we can make Iran a rich country. We can help it achieve its potential in the Iranian people. But that regime is stubborn, and the reason they're stubborn, and we have to understand this in the West, it's because they're ideologically dedicated to the destruction of Israel and the West. And it's very difficult to take people who are fanatics and have them think about the betterment of their citizens. But he's giving them the chance. If they do it, we can avoid a war, have peace in the region. And if they don't do it, I think the only way to move forward, and this has been said by both sides, will be with force to force them to give up their nuclear program and the ability to threaten the West.
And Daron, this is actually a post from Reuters where it says U.S. President Trump said that he had paused a planned attack against Iran after Tehran sent a peace. There was now a, quote, very good chance of reaching a deal limiting Iran's nuclear program. We've heard that time and time again. We're, of course,
okay,
to see how all of that kind of plays out. But this is another big topic from the Associated Press, as we know that Russian President Vladimir Putin is traveling to China to meet with the Chinese President Xi Jinping. What does that tell us, especially just days after we saw President Trump meet there with Xi Jinping as well?
I mean, I think this is a clear response to the president meeting with Xi Jinping and Russia now getting very nervous that one of its partners that has enabled Russia to carry out their campaign against Ukraine, that is, Russia provides oil to China. China gives Russia desperately needed money for that country to continue its war against Ukraine. And the two of them are really in a pact, along with North Korea and Iran, which is to some degree threatened much of the world. And I think what President Trump's visit with Xi Jinping did was it created economic cooperation. Obviously, let's make sure it actually comes to bear between the United States and China. And it got a commitment from China that they are not going to send military weapons and bombs to Iran. And that's a major shift. Russia's probably getting nervous that their tripartite axis of evil is breaking. And that's what I'm sure President Putin is going to try to mend. And at the end of the day, China will have to make a decision whether it's going to face more towards Russia, which is a failing demagogic regime, or face towards the West, towards the United States and Israel, and open up both economic benefits and look towards a brighter future.
And I want to pop this up on your screen. As we talk about the situation in the Middle East, you're looking at a live look over Beirut in Lebanon. Important to note that Israel has been carrying out attacks here on the Hezbollah terror group. Now, there is a peace deal of sorts, a ceasefire that's in effect between Israel and Lebanon, but not Hezbollah, not the terror group there. So we're seeing those strikes continue to happen. Can you kind of break down for folks out there what the latest is on that situation playing out between Israel and Hezbollah?
Josh, Hezbollah is daily not only threatening Israelis, they're killing Israelis. I can tell you in my own street where I live, a neighbor up the street, their daughter was supposed to get married in 1 month. The invitations had just been put out with a soldier, and that soldier was killed by a drone strike earlier this week. Horrible tragedy. Hezbollah is using drones and rockets to threaten northern Israel, which Israel has said from the moment we went into that agreement. And of course, the President of the United States understands that any threat towards the Israeli people has to be taken care of. And Hezbollah has to disarm. And so all of these actions, Israel's had a lot of patience, almost like the U.S. and Iran. First of all, we've asked the people of southern Lebanon to move out of the way. We've established a military barrier. We're disarming Hezbollah in the southern area. But if they threaten Israel, north of the Litani, Israel has said that it will do what it takes to protect our people. And that's exactly what's taking place. However, at the end of the day, Josh, it really is going to be up to the Lebanese government to disarm Hezbollah. It's the Lebanese people who are suffering even more than the Israelis. And I think if we ask them in their heart of hearts, they're happy Israel has weakened Hezbollah, but we need them to step up to the plate, and we need the international community to support Lebanon to disarm Hezbollah now. Hezbollah is Iran. Make no difference about it. It's time to bring in a final decision that we're not going to allow Iran to operate via its terror proxies, and this is an important opportunity to take care of that.
Doron Spielman, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here, helping to break down all of the latest developments. We definitely appreciate it. Is there anything we missed, anything that you want to make sure to add about any of this, any of the topics there in the Middle East before I let you go?
There is actually. It's kind of a silver lining on what's happening in Iran. First of all, you have the United States and Israel, Josh, that are confronting evil. And it's been, obviously, we've seen prices rise in the gas pumps. However, there's another phenomenon that people are not talking about enough, which is that if originally 20 million barrels a day went through the Hormuz Strait, now 10 million of those barrels, meaning half of the ability for Iran to squeeze the Western world, is now flowing through alternative routes in Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Turkey. And we have to understand that this has greatly weakened any future ability for Iran to squeeze the international community by opening up alternative routes. And I think long-term, the world is going to benefit from this. And we can just show that when you press an enemy and you force people to make change, that change can benefit the West and the rest of the world in the long term.
All right. Doron Spielman, thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to join us, helping to break down all the latest developments. I'm sure once we get off the call here, there will be even more. So I'm sure we'll be back in touch. Thank you again for being here with us.
Thank you, Josh, so much.
And of course, I do want to continue to follow all of the latest coming in on this, as Iran International English is now saying that several consecutive explosions heard on Iran's southern Qasim Island around midday today were caused by the disposal of unexploded ordnance, a provincial security official telling state media there in Iran. The deputy security governor of that province said that specialist teams carried out an operation, and he urged the public not to worry and to ignore rumors on social media.
The first layer, this is peeling the first layer. Number 1, the last digits are 3151. Below it shows 2025, but the first plate is from January 2026. This one is from July 2025. All three VINs are the same. So basically, he can pick whichever day to mark it as manufactured. This one's from October 2023. Let's check if this number is actually a VIN. 3151043. Just a single number, right? This is from the original factory. The first nameplate is the correct one. A recent discovery by a car owner has raised concerns over quality and transparency in China's automotive industry. The production plate on a BAIC Photon vehicle was found to be layered, with 3 thick stickers stacked atop each other, each showing a different production date but all tied to the same chassis number. Online users reacted with ridiculous, they said, pointing out that a 2023 stock vehicle was being sold at full price as a 2026 model, a move they described as blatant consumer deception. Some joked, no Western company could ever master this trick in a lifetime. Others expressed deeper concerns. If production dates can be altered at will, what about sales figures, testing results, and other data? Could these overlapping stickers mean the same car was counted 3 times in official sales statistics? Critics argue that some Chinese companies ingenuinely seems focus more on exploiting loopholes than on serving consumers. From infant formula to vaccines, housing to automobiles, counterfeit goods, falsified data, and altered dates have become common. While the saying goes that Chinese people do not deceive each other, the reality is that certain unscrupulous companies target trusting domestic consumers. The brazenness, observers say, stems from a system lacking true rule of law and regulatory oversight, dominated instead by vested interests. If falsifying production plates reflects corporate attitude, the following footage casts serious doubt on the fundamentals of China's industrial manufacturing. A video captured by a netizen shows a vehicle parked under high heat, with dashboards, roof trim, and door interior collectively falling under direct sunlight. A simple scratch with a finger carves a deep groove into the black dashboard, softening like melted chocolate. Coffee-colored door handles appear sticky and warped, while the roof stretches and drips like molten wax. Sponge protective layers crumble like overbaked pastry. The visuals are striking. Netizens responded with mockery. This is the Chinese chocolate bar. Hungry? Just take a bite. Others quipped. Was this junk bought off Pinduoduo for $1.50, including shipping? And if their integrity is poor, how could the car quality be good? A fundamental requirement for any vehicle is durability in all weather conditions. If it cannot pass basic high-temperature material test, claims of outperforming today, dominating tomorrow, leading the day after appear hollow. However, the more critical concern is mechanical safety. In a new BYD Qing EV that had never been in an accident or suffered major impacts, the half shaft broke completely, sparking serious safety concerns.
The half shaft's broken. Brand new, fully electric. Just look at the shape. I wouldn't even dare to say what it is. Don't send me to jail.
The fracture of a new car's half shaft means that drivers could suddenly lose power or even control of the vehicle while traveling at high speed. The man who filmed the footage reportedly refrained from naming the brand directly, fearing legal action and exorbitant compensation claims from the automaker's powerful legal team.
Is this a crash beam? It's as thin as a sheet of paper. Even tapping it makes it so fragile. My goodness.
Listen to the sharp sound and see the iron sheet as thin as a cicada's wing. Netizens immediately recognized it as the so-called industry-leading crash beam of the AITO M7. Crash beams are designed to absorb energy in collision and serve as a last line of defense for the passenger cabin. Yet some brands spend tens of thousands on launch events, refrigerators, TVs, and luxury sofas while cutting corners on safety parts that aren't visible. One tap and it cracks. One collision and it shatters. Is this really 50% more safety than competitors? Behind the automotive industry's aggressive expansion and pursuit of extreme cost-performance ratios lies a hidden danger: vehicles that are a safety hazard. In recent news from Yingkuo, Liaoning, a high-class electric vehicle, the Xiaomi SU7 caught fire while driving. The official explanation claimed the fire was caused not by the vehicle itself, but by a windproof lighter left in the seat rail, which was compressed and ignited over time. Many netizens rejected this explanation, questioning whether it was an attempt to cover up a battery thermal runaway incident. Some commented, last time Xiaomi caught fire, it was also blamed on a lighter. It's always a lighter, same old story. Others added, it's clearly a self-ignition of the battery. Watch the video. The flames are typical of lithium battery combustion. This is far from an isolated case. Another viral video shows a dark SUV suddenly erupting in flames on a busy street. The fire consumed the car from rear to front in seconds, producing thick black smoke. Thankfully, the driver escaped in time. A security guard attempted to douse the flames with a fire extinguisher, but the extreme temperatures of lithium battery combustion rendered the effort nearly ineffective. Contrast this with other electric vehicles. For example, in Changzhou, Jiangsu, a Tesla Model Y was struck head-on by a 2-ton runaway Cadillac. The Tesla occupants emerged unharmed, while the Cadillac passengers were rushed to the hospital. The Tesla owner later posted a video expressing gratitude for the vehicle's robust safety features. Netizens responded, "This is the true baseline for building a car." It's not just the hardware that has shrunk. Owners report that the software and infotainment system have become major points of frustration. One Aito M7 owner shared a troubling experience while reversing. After shifting into reverse, the display froze for a full minute, leaving no rear view image visible. Netizens mocked the delay. The law requires a rear view image to appear within 3 seconds. You've extended that wait 20-fold. Is it so users can meditate on life before backing up? Informed commenters explained the issue. Other vehicles achieve fast rear view display because they have 2 independent hardware systems. The large screen simply shows a signal. The so-called Harmony OS infotainment system tries to save on chips by using a single system for all logic. Naturally, it slows down over time. For a car costing hundreds of thousands of yuan, issues like lagging rear-view cameras, delayed door unlocks, or failure to engage gear at traffic lights raise serious concerns. Is this truly automotive engineering or just assembling a substandard oversized smartphone? Some users advise, if you plan to drive for more than 5 years, spend a little more for a better vehicle. There's no need to go to Aito, others warned. Never buy these fast fashion cars. They release 10 new models in 2 or 3 years, leaving older owners stuck with outdated vehicles. A Chery Arizo 8 owner recently posted a video showing that just 1 year after purchase, the inside of the driver's side door was covered in white adhesive and showed signs of rust. The owner later went to the official service center, where the area was lightly repainted to cover the damage. Netizens reacted with amusement. You only truly believe it when it happens to you. Hearing from others is like a pack of dogs barking. Indeed, the saying holds, domestic cars get fine finishes where you can see, but are left unfinished where you cannot.
40-50万的车，它居然开焊了，你不敢相信啊。
A car worth 400,000 or 500,000, and the welds just came apart. You wouldn't believe it. Look at this sheet of metal. Supposedly far ahead in China. The metal is still really thin. The A-pillar here is damaged too, with a huge crack. This is a serious lesson.
In a shocking revelation, a pillar sheet metal on the 400,000 yuan luxury MPV Voya Dream actually fractured along the welds. Netizens reacted with outrage, commenting, a 400,000 yuan vehicle and we just pay 350,000 yuan in IQ tax. Facing a flood of quality complaints, how have these Chinese automakers addressed the issues? As expected, they haven't fixed the problems. They've targeted the peoples raising them. In 2024, an auto mechanic known online as Brother Long Talks About EVs spoke frankly about shortcomings in domestic electric vehicles while servicing BYD batteries and motors. His candid comments triggered coordinated backlash from multiple major automakers. After 2 years of litigations, a final ruling was recently issued. Brother Long was ordered to pay BYD 2 million yuan, XPeng 100,000 yuan, and Huawei Ceres 160,000 yuan. He was also compelled to post a public apology video on May 15th.
Hello everyone. The appeal in the BYD lawsuit has been decided. We've been ordered to pay BYD $2 million and post a video to mitigate the impact. Earlier, while repairing BYD's batteries, motors, and electronic controls, I posted videos saying some improper things that affected BYD's business standing and constituted unfair competition, causing a negative impact. I sincerely apologize for that.
Instead of focusing on core technologies or improving product quality, massive capital and legal departments have demonstrated a shocking efficiency and ruthlessness in targeting their own citizens and silencing critics. Can this kind of self-deception truly hide the flaws in the products themselves? Unfortunately, this isn't an isolated incident. The entire foundation of China's new energy vehicle industry is collapsing under extreme internal pressure. One conscientious engineer has stepped forward to expose what automakers dare not disclose publicly, risking harassment and potential lawsuits.
Do you know how crazy the car scene is in China right now? In 2025, 1,278 new models were launched domestically. That's 3.5 cars per day. On April 16th alone, 6 models hit the market, and the Beijing Auto Show saw 212 launches in a single day. One automaker released over 290 models in just 4 years. For comparison, the Volkswagen Group, with Porsche, Audi, Bentley, and over a century of history, sold only around 160 models in China. Most of these cars copy the looks of Porsche or Land Rover, stuff a fridge, TV, and giant sofa inside, slap on a high-voltage platform, and sell them for tens of thousands. How can they move so fast? Because they skip the testing cycle that decides if you'll make it home safely. Volkswagen and Toyota have development cycles of 42 to 48 months, and Porsche 911 takes over 60 months. Some fast-paced Chinese makers do it in less than 18 months. They treat consumers as free lab rats, risking people's lives in testing.
So, what are the 5 hidden deadly tests that automakers refuse to disclose? First, a pillar intrusion in collision. In a frontal crash at 60 kilometers per hour, established brands like Mercedes-Benz and Toyota limit A-pillar intrusion into the cabin to just 2 to 4 centimeters. Some fast-growing domestic automakers, however, report a shocking 12 to 15 centimeters, meaning a pillar could strike the driver's head on impact. To save roughly 3,000 yuan in steel, they've essentially put a price on your life. Second, steering failure recovery time. When electronic power steering fails, traditional manufacturers can rely on mechanical redundancies to restore control within 0.5 seconds. Some profit-driven automakers take over 10 seconds. At 120 kilometers per hour, a locked steering wheel for 10 seconds isn't car manufacturing, it's gambling with your entire family's life. Third, chassis rubber aging rate. Traditional brands keep rubber aging under 18% after 5 years. Some emerging automakers exceed 50% within 2 to 3 years. This can lead to loose chassis components, unusual noises, and a brake performance drop of over 35%, turning long downhill drives into life-threatening situations. Fourth, battery pack internal deformation. In a 1.5 meter drop test, Tesla shows that 1.5% deformation of internal copper foil, while many Chinese domestic EVs exceed 15%. Even if the casing appears intact, internal short circuits can develop within 3 to 6 months, triggering unpredictable delayed fires, often leaving insurance companies unwilling to cover damages. Fifth, 3-year resale value. Mercedes-Benz and Porsche retain over 65% of their value after 3 years. Some so-called industry-leading flagship EVs drop below 35%. A 550,000 yuan luxury EV could be resold for only 190,000 yuan 3 years later. A steep IQ tax on consumers, meaning learning the hard way when making foolish buying decisions. As one engineer warned, these cars may be fast, but your rebirth is just as fast. Please slow down, respect life, and treat the Chinese citizens who trust you better. While some automakers are busy cramming toilets and kitchens into vehicles, turning cars into mobile KTVs, what are the true tech giants doing? Tesla has just unveiled a groundbreaking safety innovation using pure vision AI to predict collisions, triggering airbags 70 milliseconds in advance. For the past century, automotive safety has been reactive. First crash, then protection. In high-speed, life or death scenarios, that response is often too late. Now, Elon Musk is putting AI directly into life or death decisions. Once a collision is deemed unavoidable, the system instantly deploys the airbags ahead of time. True technology isn't about turning a car into a living room. It's about reclaiming those critical 0.07 seconds from death itself. The gap in autonomous driving technology is equally alarming. Even He Xiaopeng, founder of XPeng, recognized domestically as part of the first tier of smart cars, exclaimed after test driving Tesla's FSD V12 in Silicon Valley, "That is a game changer that crushed any competition." Experts with 15 years of autonomous driving development experience tested XPeng's system and recorded 12 human interventions within just 5 hours, including 3 extremely dangerous, potentially fatal errors, nearly running red lights and almost veering off the road, and this is already considered China's second-best smart driving system. Netizens commented, when the first place system scores 99 points, you'd expect the second place system to at least hit 90, but in reality, it's failing. In the face of true end-to-end AI, all claims of being far ahead are instantly wiped out by Tesla. Confronting these severe industry deviations, Professor Wang Zhongqiu of Peking University did not hesitate to pull back the curtain.
Right now, most of these up-and-coming Chinese car companies, in my opinion, are going to fail. Those names like NIO and Li Auto, total nonsense. The direction of new energy is correct, but having people who don't understand cars run it, that's just ridiculous. Driving an entire industry purely with capital is extremely, extremely dangerous. It's like you internet folks throwing money at making cars. How could that work? You have no idea what craftsmanship even means. China's auto industry has completely gone off track. I absolutely don't believe a car is just a sofa on 4 wheels. These guys have never actually made cars, and who knows how many problems will come up. Promising a lifetime battery swap? What lifetime? You've only been alive for a few years. How can you guarantee an 80-year-old is still around? It's all irresponsible promises. Products that haven't been deeply refined die easily. The promises are worthless. Worthless.
Building car requires respect for human life and common sense. Yet today, China's emerging automakers chasing quick profits have long abandoned these basic principles. One netizen summed it up, "To be honest, if Chinese people didn't cheat each other, no one would cheat that Chinese at all."
Iran's regime is celebrating, but President Trump says not so fast.
Pumping the brakes on Iran for now, while the president says he is holding off on strikes that were scheduled to begin at some point today.
President Trump is reportedly set to convene his national security team at the White House in the Situation Room. This as they weigh next steps on finishing the mission in Iran. So whether that's through combat or diplomacy, that's the point in question.
So now the president's saying that U.S. forces remain ready to attack at a moment's notice, but there's diplomatic momentum prompting him to hold off, at least for now.
We were getting ready to do a very major attack tomorrow. I've put it off for a little while, hopefully maybe forever, but possibly for a little while, because we've had very big discussions with Iran, and we'll see what they amount to. I was asked by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and some others if we could put it off for
I just wanted to tell you guys that AWACS right there, that's going off of that was one of the ones that we were supposed to be, as in me, like what we trained for to be on. And it's the eye in the sky.
2 or 3 days, a short period of time, because they think that they are getting very close to making a deal.
So while a major attack was allegedly held back at the very last minute, it looks like something else could soon happen, which nobody's ever seen before.
Clock is still ticking for the Iranian regime. President Trump said in a post on Truth Social overnight he planned to attack Iran but held off due to a request from Gulf leadership. We know the timeline here remains the biggest question. The Israeli military is on high alert, and the U.S. military buildup across the region is growing each day. President Trump indicated this is a temporary pause for 2 or 3 days to see if an agreement can be reached.
So what's that mean, Friday?
If we can do that where there's no nuclear weapon going into the hands of Iran, I think, and if they're satisfied, we will be probably satisfied.
Okay, because that was like the only thing we want.
The Iranians released a few statements overnight with the country's president, Masoud Pezeshkian, saying dialogue does not mean surrender. And a senior Iranian official, Mohsen Rezai, attacking President Trump on X, saying he sets a deadline for a military attack and then cancels it himself, with the false hope that he will surrender the Iranian nation and officials. The iron fist of the powerful armed forces and the great nation of Iran will force them to retreat and surrender. We're also getting new images from inside of Iran that show a nomadic Iranian tribe marching in Tehran and chanting "Death to America." Some held weapons as they listened to a speech in the capital city. Still a lot of threatening language from the Iranian regime and officials there as the region waits to see if these Gulf countries can push the Islamic Republic toward a deal.
And that's got some experts saying, you know what, all of this talk of a ceasefire, it's not so much Trump holding out for a deal that we know may not actually exist because this has happened before. It's really Trump showing the world that, hey, I did everything I could before we had to restart combat operations. That's what some people think is coming. But what exactly is there to celebrate in Iran right now?
This is where many Iranians now feel the impact of the war most directly. Not on the battlefield, but here in the market. Every aisle, every shelf, every price tag is a reminder of how deeply the war is affecting daily life in Iran. Across Tehran, the price of basic goods is rising so fast that many shoppers say they can no longer keep up.
Wow.
Prices are increasing every second, and people can barely afford anything. I can no longer buy many of the items I purchased just a month ago.
Don't discount what a big signal this is to every single person living in Iran that the government, which has been an aggressor towards its neighbors, has launched attacks on the U.S. Gulf allies that weren't even involved in this conflict and has trapped a whole bunch of ships in the Strait of Hormuz. This government is not able to protect them, and it is this government's fault. They are where they are right now, and everybody there knows it.
Iran is flexing its muscles by showcasing its missiles. But it is also the price of essentials that is skyrocketing. According to Iran's Statistical Center, the solid vegetable oil price have jumped by 375% in just 1 year.
Missiles and inflation.
Liquid oil up more than 300%. Imported rice more than doubled. For many Iranians, groceries that were once routine purchases are becoming luxury.
We've seen a sharp decline in customers. People who used to buy 6 chickens now only buy 2.
This spaghetti a month ago was around 40,000 to man. Now it is over 70,000.
Wow, that's more than double.
And this box of tea a month ago was around 400,000 to man. Now it is over 700,000 to man.
So as the regime is parading missiles and doing these military marches and is getting people riled up and saying, hey, we're winning, we're winning, we're winning, the people know every day that sadly they're losing, and that is the hope. The hope is here that the economic conditions bring the people of this country to call for change in a way that they haven't been able to yet as the regime loses its ability to sustain even itself. But here's why that might not work.
Iran's foreign ministry claims that the back and forth shows that no deal from Iran has been downright rejected by the U.S. And Iran's president saying yesterday that dialogue does not mean surrender. We expect to hear more from the Trump administration today as Vice President J.D. Vance is set to take the podium at today's briefing.
Oh, so they're not surrendering.
We'll be watching for that. Okay, Alex.
The president has exhibited a huge amount of patience here since the ceasefire on April the 8th. And we've tried to work a deal with these guys, and it just doesn't seem possible. And where we are, we're on the cusp of going back into military operations. When we stopped, Bill and Dana, we had 2 weeks to go, a little less than 30% of the targets. Those targets remain, but we have better intelligence now. after these 5-6 weeks. So that target list is expanded. It's considerably more comprehensive.
And how does that happen? Well, over the last 5 or 6 weeks, there's been a ceasefire. What do both sides do during a ceasefire? They do what the U.S. did. They rearm, they restock. The U.S. has been pulling more military assets into the Gulf area, and the Iranians, presumably they've been doing the exact same thing, but the United States has air supremacy. We are watching them. We can see where people are moving around. And activity between various areas of the country, military activity, restocking, the U.S. can see all of that. And that's the intelligence that the general's talking about. And what this has allowed is, yes, there has been peace for a negotiation, but it's given the regime the opportunity to reveal sensitive targets that the U.S. may not have known about before.
Well, I agree with the general completely, with one caveat. Patience may be a little short of the real objective here. The president has time on his hands. He controls the narrative, he controls the strike capabilities, and he knows that the policy he set with the blockade has had short-term and long-term effects on the regime and the people of Iran. So he's been very astute in leveraging that time. And so I don't see it as negotiations. It really is capitulation. The president's made it very clear. You will not have a nuclear weapon. You will not have the materials. Surrender that. And you will ensure that the Straits of Hormuz are open to free commerce. That you have no claims for surcharge or approving. Those two things are irreversibly.
And that would be a huge problem for the world economy. If somebody who's near a geographic choke point can say, hey, that's ours, and they're going to try to toll and lock down an international waterway, I mean, that's bad news for the whole world.
And the president knows he's in the position to demand those. So I think in that sense, he controls the narrative and when he would strike. I'd also say that patience and the request from Saudi, Qatar, UAE may be more also religious at the moment. You're in the middle of Hajj. You have millions of Muslims in Saudi doing their annual Hajj at the end of this month, and that includes 30,000 Iranians. And so that plays into the calculus. Do you want to strike during Hajj, which is a very sacred Muslim month in activity, followed by Eid al-Adha? So both of those things are the time equation, and that's what the president controls most.
Interesting.
So he can take his time, let the blockade and the economic sanctions continue to erode the economy of Iran.
And that's the thing about this. Although we're talking about a conflict between a militant aggressor, there are civilians living in many of these countries, in the UAE, in Oman, in Saudi Arabia, and even in Iran itself. And if there is something happening here that causes people to perhaps put themselves at risk, it makes sense that the Gulf allies would say, you know what, let's not do attacks. There could be retaliation, even though Iran's capability has been diminished. And at the exact same time, time is on the president's side. But just before we continue, quick question. How much control do you have over your money right now? Technology has changed everything, and now it's changing how money works. Crypto started as a niche, but now it's going mainstream. Faster payments, more control, fewer middlemen. This isn't hype, it's where things are going. And getting started today is easier than you think, and that's where Rumble Wallet comes in. With Rumble Wallet, you can buy Bitcoin, hold dollar-backed stablecoins, and even own digital gold backed by real gold, all in one place. Setup is simple. It connects with MoonPay, so you can use your debit card, credit card, or bank account and be up and running in minutes. Start small, $10, $50, $100. It's not about the amount, it's about getting in early and understanding what's coming next. And once you're set up, you can even tip your favorite Rumble creators like me directly. So do this now. Scan the QR code or follow this link directly. It's also going to be in the video description. From there, you can download Rumble Wallet, tap buy, and you're in the game. Take control of your money. Get started with Rumble Wallet today. Now let's get back to the video. Legal disclaimer, Rumble Wallet is a technology provider and not a custodial service. See terms at wallet.rumble.com.
And the cooking oil, it was around 700,000 to man a month ago. Now it is over 1.3 million to man. And the reasons are piling up: a weakening currency, high inflation, and wartime disruption, and also growing difficulties importing raw materials.
Because of the
government
blockade.
insists it is responding. The authorities are saying they're cracking down on hoarding and market manipulation while considering bigger subsidies and tax relief measures.
So all Iran's government can do while inflation is skyrocketing during this waiting period is say that they're going to crack down on what? People inside their own country. When they say market manipulation, when they say hoarding, they're going after these businesses that are out here trying to keep food that they're selling to people and trying to just keep the economy going. So they're not able to do anything. They are failing more and more in the eyes of their own citizens as they parade around these weapons and say that they're winning. That's what's happening as time goes on. Are gas prices perfect in America? No. But this shocking reality is affecting Iran, and this, everybody hopes, will lead to a surrender very soon.
But what is making the situation particularly worse here is the U.S. blockade of Strait of Hormuz, because more than 80% of Iran's exports and imports comes through either the Strait of Hormuz or via southern ports. And the U.S. blockade has significantly reduced that number. But here in Tehran, many people say the main issue is unpredictability.
I bought many of these products last week, but now their prices have doubled. My purchasing power has dropped by at least 70%.
Yeah, it's tough, man.
People here are swinging between the fear of the return of the war and hope for peace. But one thing that is consistently growing is the economic anxiety.
But here's why economic anxiety doesn't matter as much to the people at the top as it does to the people of this country.
Yeah, well, we've been at this since April the 8th when we went into a ceasefire mode with the hope for some kind of a negotiated settlement. So we're about 6 weeks into this, which exceeds now the amount of time that we were at war when we went to the ceasefire. And likely, if that war had continued, it would have been over now by a number of weeks. So here we are looking for a deal, and what the Iranians, I think, are up to, and what they have been up to since the ceasefire, is to put some things on the table that look appealing, but yet not willing to really make a deal that makes any sense and is acceptable to the president. And their objective is really to drag this out, because they believe in their mind time is on their side. There's more political pressure on the president with the midterms coming, and also more economic pressure. And therefore, they think that at the end of the day, he'll just walk away and not do anything more.
Wow.
That is kind of what they're seeking here, in my view.
Yeah.
It remains to be seen if this deal has got any meat on it. All the other ones did not.
And that's the thing. Inside Iran right now, we just saw the inflation. We just saw the unpredictability. This is wild. But they actually believe for some reason that in the United States, things are worse than they are inside Iran itself. Or at least that's the message that they're putting out.
And I think the president, he's our backstop here. He's not going to take a lousy deal.
No.
He has said that before time and time again.
He has.
As to our allies, the 3 allies that came forward, Qatar, the UAE, and also Saudi Arabia, I really think we have some leverage here. I understand Iran is likely going to go after their oil and gas infrastructure. They also have significant defense capabilities, as do we in the area, to help assist with that. But the reality is, we can tell the Iranians, if you go after oil and gas infrastructure or our allies in the region, we will begin to systematically destroy your oil and energy capabilities completely. And we'll begin with Karg.
Wow.
And we'll start to dismantle it piece by piece.
What the general's referring to, there was recently an Iranian drone attack on a UAE power facility, which could have become a real disaster. And if Iran's going to do that, if they're going to go after civilian infrastructure in countries that weren't even part of this until they dragged those countries, their neighbors, into it, that is bad news. But now the question is, what's it going to take to wrap this thing up?
To get their attention. We have significant leverage here.
Yeah.
And I don't think we need to stand down because of a potential threat to oil and gas infrastructure in the region.
No, that threat's always been there.
I'm surprised that the Iranians just keep getting up. I mean, General, look, the president tells us all the time, the U.S. destroyed the Navy. They destroyed their Air Force. You've got Iranian ships on the bottom of, the water. And yet they refuse, still push back in terms of this, this red line that the president has put in place, that they cannot have access to a nuclear weapon.
They refuse to give that up.
Are you surprised of this I don't know. Should I call it resiliency of the Iranians? Is it? Or is it just smoke and mirrors?
I don't think he's surprised.
No. What they're focused on, completely focused on, is regime survival.
That's why they don't care about the inflation. They got cooking oil, which is 5 times more expensive than it used to be. They don't care about that. All they care about is that at the end of this thing, which they think can last until the midterms, when Trump loses all of his power and a hostile Congress that's in favor of this regime reins him in, so to speak. They think they can make it that long. They don't care what happens to their economy between now and then. 5-digit inflation? So what? They don't care, because you know what? They're the military, they're the government, they've got the weapons, and if in 6 months they're still there and their country has been totally destroyed, at least they're still in charge of it. That's what these people think. It's sad. It's scary. And you know, it's almost like every single day that this goes on and we see how Iran treats its own people, the idea that they would be allowed to build nuclear weapons, I mean, that idea gets even worse every day.
They don't care about their people.
They don't care.
They're willing to accept significant amount of degradation. And when we look at them through the prism of U.S. values, American democracy, and what's reasonable, you don't get the right answer. You got to put yourself in their shoes. Regime survival.
Wow.
And they'll take a deal because they would welcome a deal at some point more closely to their terms, because they know full well we're going to finance their recovery. Right. They're going to have to get some assets unfrozen and some sanction relief.
But General,
so
I mean,
they're holding out, and they're willing to put their people through immense suffering to achieve their end. Regime survival.
Regime survival, but who's the regime, General? Who are we talking to? I mean, I know you've pinpointed specifics in terms of who's running this, but can you say that person or that group has been in charge from day one? I mean, who is the regime?
Good question.
No, we know who the regime is. We know their names, and we're dealing with them. Yeah. And we've been dealing with these people for weeks now. Ahmed Vahidi is the head of the IRGC. He's very close to the Ayatollah.
It's the military.
The Ayatollah is participating, and the political leaders are Gabalev and others. We know exactly who is in charge here, and they are absolute hardliners, similar to the people we were dealing with before conflict broke out.
So now the working theory is that because this is the reality, because every single deal, every single negotiation that has taken place over the last 6 weeks, those have all been an utter failure. The president knew going into this that this was going to be a failure. He knew that they were never going to agree to anything. They've never agreed to anything in the past, and they have strung the world along for 47 years at this point. And that's why some people are saying, look, all of this resistance on Trump's part to going back into combat operations, it's done 2 things. It's allowed the U.S. and Israel to restock and get back into position while revealing remaining intelligence targets so that if a deal doesn't work out, whatever happens next can be swift and decisive and bring about a peaceful resolution one way or another. What do you think about that? I will see you in the next video.
Sky 5 over Simi Valley, where the Sandy fire has now burned nearly 1,400 acres and destroyed at least 1 home.
24 hours after the fire first ignited, it's now 5% contained. Our team coverage begins with Rich Prickett, who is live overhead in Sky 5. Rich, we see those flames burning deep into brush.
Yeah, this is exactly why many of the evacuation orders and warnings are still in place. We'll occasionally see a flare-up. Fortunately, we have 2 Chinook helicopters and a Black Hawk that are taking water from the Bard Reservoir and quickly bringing it over here to the hillside. I'll widen out here and show you the burn scar. Again, this started just over 24 hours ago. It started with 1 acre, quickly ballooned to nearly 200 acres, and by sunset, it was up to almost 1,800 acres. And you can see how large the burn scar is that essentially burned between First Street and Sequoia, just in the Simi Valley Hills above Royal Avenue. So you can see a lot of the resources that are still staged here. This is at the top of Sequoia. We can see trailers here, so there's likely going to be some dozers that are cutting lines, as well as some of the hand crews. So we're at 5% containment. They hope that number to climb today. They will be working on some of those hot spots. They are monitoring the winds, and the hope is that they can release some of the evacuation orders and warnings. So stay tuned for that. But here is the footprint. Again, the Sandy fire has grown to nearly 1,800 acres. Live in Sky 5, Rich Prickett. Send it back to you. in Hollywood.
All right, Rich, thank you for that. Our team coverage of the Sandy fire continues now with Sarah Welch, who's been on the front lines in Simi Valley since this fire began. Sarah joins us live with the very latest on the ground. Sarah, good morning on day 2 now of this fire.
Day 2, Lauren, that's correct. We're on Trickling Court, and the winds continue to pick up today. This fire 5% contained. Firefighters attacking this still from the ground and the air. This has the neighbors here cope with the emotional toll. This is one of the home. This is the home actually that burned during the fire yesterday. This is very sad for this neighborhood up here, and it's also difficult for the firefighters who are battling this fire, because the firefighters, they live here too. One house is too many, and they're doing all they can to get this fire contained and under control. We're joined now by Stanley Rico. You're with the Ventura County Fire. For our viewers watching this morning, especially those living here in the valley, give us the very latest.
So right now the fire's at 5% contained. There's 1,384 acres that have burned, and we have crews aggressively fighting to get this fire under containment. Due to our mutual, robust mutual aid agreement that we have, we're able to get 750 fires here in a moment's notice to help us combat this fire.
So we've got 750 firefighters here working this fire, and the reservoir is very close, and that's been one of the key factors in this firefight.
Yes, definitely having a close reservoir is limited our response time to getting our fixed air wing here to make our drops. We have fixed wings, and we also have helicopters that are dropping water around the clock on this fire.
And what's happening today in terms of evacuations, and what do residents need to know?
Listen to the evacuation orders. Any of the latest updates are going to be on emergency.venturacounty.gov for the latest and greatest when it comes to our evacuation orders. But they're in place for your safety and for our firefighters, so that we can get on scene and make an aggressive fire attack.
And when we're looking at the fire attack today, what is the biggest challenge that the crews are going to be facing?
Biggest challenge in any wildland fire is going to be fuel, which is what we have out here, weather, and topography. We have planned for that. We have firefighters in place around the fire to combat any conditions or changes to the weather.
And as of right now, no injuries to report. All firefighters okay too?
As of right now, no injuries to report.
Good news. Thank you so much, Rico. We appreciate your time. So, Lauren and Sam, we're going to send it back to you in Hollywood. We'll have another update in the next hour. But again, firefighters, some 750 firefighters. Ventura County Fire today talking about the partnership that they have with all these surrounding departments. These guys are a team, and when they're together, they do what they do, and they're working hard here. We'll have an update coming up at 12. Back to you in Hollywood.
Meanwhile, 3 people killed in a shooting at San Diego's largest mosque yesterday. 2 teenage suspects were found dead in a nearby car with self-inflicted wounds. Police giving this update on that.
Actively investigating this as a hate crime. There are details and information that we are investigating as to exactly what those what the hate speech or the hate words were that were conveyed. It was definitely hate rhetoric that was involved.
We're still trying to learn more about this. So is Matt Finn, our reporter on the scene there in San Diego. And Matt, good morning there in California.
Good morning, Bill. Right now, investigators are working to determine exactly why these 2 young men, 17 and 18 years old, shot and killed 3 people at this Islamic center that on any given day has lots of women and children on the property. And just in, Fox has obtained a photo of 17-year-old Kane Clark, one of the teens believed to be responsible for the senseless act of terror that took place here yesterday. The San Diego police chief calls this shooting a free society's, quote, worst nightmare, and says it began yesterday morning when police got a call at 9:42 a.m. from a distressed mother who reported her son left a note behind and ran away. 3 guns were gone, and her son possibly wanted to take his own life.
Several of her weapons were missing. Her vehicle was missing, in addition to her son. She also said that her son was with a companion and that they were dressed in camo.
That police chief says as officers were taking in information from the concerned mother and realizing the threat was growing, they got reports of an incident at the Islamic Community Center and dispatched themselves, where 3 adults were found dead, including a security guard who's being hailed as a hero for saving lives. Police scanner audio reveals the terrifying moments as this shooting unfolded.
2 white males, black masks.
2 white males, masks. They were wearing no camo.
One with an automatic weapon, one with a shotgun. We're going to grab these 2 victims and we can do life-threatening measures.
10-4, grabbing victims to do life-saving measures.
Police say around the same time they were making entry, they got a call of a car a few blocks away that had shot at a landscaper who was going to be okay. And a couple blocks from that scene, they found the 2 suspects dead in a BMW from self-inflicted gunshot wounds. The police chief says there was hateful rhetoric involved, and this is being investigated as a hate crime. Bill, Dana.
And one of those dead, a father of 8 children. Matt Finn, thank you. In San Diego, more to come, hopefully, throughout the day today. Learn more. Thanks.
And James Galliano, retired FBI supervisor, agent, and Fox News contributor, is here as well. Just one more piece of sound from the police chief, Scott Wall, on the mother that the juvenile is trying to alert authorities.
After speaking with the mom began to piece together bits and pieces of information over an extended period of time. The information that she was gathering and conveying to us began to elevate the threat level that we were perceiving with this information. She believed her son was suicidal.
What do you think of this case?
The mother did everything right, and obviously it was a grim scene yesterday, and we're still kind of piecing things together. Look, as far as a hate crime, I mean, the 2 decedents will not face charges. They're obviously dead in this instance. But trying to understand motivations, and again, Bill and Dana, here's something else. 17 and 18 years old. This has become an epidemic of Gen Z shooters, whether it's the assassination culture we saw in Butler, Pennsylvania, or in Utah with Tyler Robinson, and now these 2 young men. Most important thing, now that the initial interdiction is done, did anyone direct them to do these things, provide material support? Was anybody else involved in the conspiracy?
Yeah, like why were they the target? Why'd they pick that mosque? We don't know. There was something that was written that was found in this car. Whether it was a suicide note or some sort of manifesto, do we know about that at all, James?
We don't yet. That hasn't been released yet. I'm sure we're going to hear about this in the next day or so, Bill. But again, it goes back to these type of motivations. You take a grievance, you apply an ideology to it, and then your own sense of moral absolutism. And in this instance, Christians, Jews, and Muslims are being targeted across the globe, mostly in Asia and in African parts of the Middle East. But the FBI's tracked these numbers. In the last decade, a doubling of hate crime incidents in the United States.
Well, we'll continue to follow that, and Matt Finn is on the ground for us as well. In the meantime, in Washington, D.C., the U.S. attorney there, our former colleague, Jeanine Pirro, stirring things up. And she says this video that you saw from Chipotle over the weekend, teens throwing things at each other, to absolute destruction here. She says that the parents might have to be prosecuted as well. Watch her here. This is yesterday.
These are not kids being kids. This is criminal conduct. Understand something. A social media click is not worth a criminal record. And we will make sure that you have a criminal record. We will arrest you, and where we can, we will prosecute you aggressively, and we will prosecute your parents.
Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, what the U.S. Attorney is speaking about there is vicarious liability, right? Which means that you can be charged for a crime that someone else commits. In this instance, did you not do the proper shepherding or overseeing your child? There is a curfew in D.C. And look, D.C. is subject to the same things that we are here in New York with this raise the age. We don't treat 16 and 17-year-olds anymore like adults. Right. And 3 bad things come from that. Recidivism, which erodes public safety, the fact that the gangs are using these kids to commit crimes because they won't do the time, and then lastly in this, the lack of inside information. When judges are sentencing these kids, they have no idea that they committed a felony right before this.
Right. It's not right.
Yeah. The other thing she said this morning is that they're enhancing the videos. And you were just out in Arizona on the Nancy Guthrie case, and a lot of Like what we were going through was the videos themselves of the doorbell, etc. I'm just watching this video. Some of it's clear, some of it's not. What have you learned about how investigators use the ability to enhance the video today?
Well, what we struggled with out in Arizona, Bill, was the fact that it's not Manhattan, where every inch of this city is blanketed by surveillance cameras. And businesses like this, like Chipotle, have their own surveillance cameras. And yes, we can find out who the culprits are, except these anti-masking laws are not enforced. You'll notice some of the kids here are wearing surgical masks. We just treat it as the pro forma now, post-COVID. But if you're committing a crime and wearing a mask, you can be charged for that.
Okay, well, New York does have a lot of cameras, but not nearly as many as Beijing, China. Yeah. I think they outnumber us 10 to 1 easily, maybe more, if they're all working, I should say.
True surveillance state there.
Yeah.
Fact. Thank you, James.
Thank you,
Thanks,
and I'm sure
guys.
there'll be developments. We'll be in touch with you. Thank you.
Sure, sounds good.
Nice to see you.
Thanks.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.
Nuclear fusion is considered the holy grail of energy production and promises to be a potentially inexhaustible and climate-friendly energy source of the future. But the reality so far has been quite sobering.
Watch this guy's video, it's actually pretty good.
Okay, so since everybody and their grandma have now been talking about these newly released UAP files or UFO files, I figured I'll throw in my 2 cents as well and discuss a few things as well, including certain scientific studies that came out in the last few months. But in case you're here to have your opinion reinforced and want to hear about how this is aliens and they've been visiting us for the past few centuries, you might want to proceed and go to the next video. I'll wait. But yeah, basically, every single picture released so far has not been very impressive. For example, what even is this? Some kind of a Zeppelin? What about this? I mean, to me, this looks like a helicopter. But because everything here has been redacted, there's basically no way to tell anything about this picture. Now, what about this? I don't even know where to start here. And here we have a picture where literally everything is redacted, followed by a tiny dot. Which is why let's actually shift our attentions to something else. Let's discuss a bit of a history and how something very similar has happened before, and how this will also be seen the same way approximately 50 to 60 years from now. And basically here, I wanted to discuss the unusual craze in the late 19th and early 20th century. A wave of fascination that swept the Western world, where they were not actually looking for aliens or UFOs, but for spirits from beyond. And the thing is, even though many people don't realize, in the late 19th century, and especially during the Victorian era, this wasn't just a hobby for the superstitious. This was treated as a legitimate field of research and was known as the psychical research, with a lot of prominent scientists of the era, including a chemist William Crookes and a biologist Alfred Russel Wallace, treating these seance rooms, as they used to be known, as laboratories. Here's actually a really bizarre picture of so-called ectoplasm that was captured over a century ago. And the reason I personally find this funny is because, as you'll find out, that's not ectoplasm. But in essence, here, a lot of scientists used some of the most advanced technology of their time, including reflex cameras, thermometers, and somewhat advanced microphones, to try to detect cold spots, unusual sounds, or basically anything, in order to find any evidence for this afterlife and the world of spirits. With many researchers even believing that this was based on a physical substance from pre-Einsteinian times referred to as ether, with the ether basically acting as a kind of a bridge between the living and the dead, except that it took a couple of decades to prove that ether was not real. And basically within just a few decades, this entire field more or less fell apart, with a lot of these early ghost hunters eventually discovering that most of the stuff was completely made up, and things like ectoplasm was basically nothing but chewed paper or torn fabric that was made to resemble something produced by a ghost. And the reason I wanted to start with this is because there is a very striking comparison between this and this. The very similar obsession, or a kind of a modern fixation with UAPs or unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UFOs. Both movements share a deep public desire for answers and follow a kind of a recurrent scientific pattern. 95 to 99% of all of these reports are...
Okay, so what I seen, you can fake. So that's what I mean. Like, there's a reason why there's like a fixation on it. I get what he's trying to say. Is I understand the paranormal alignment to it, and how it's like people can think that, oh look, it's just the same thing as like a cryptid, even like, yeah, but like when you see it, it's different. So like,
Are eventually
I'm
explained.
speaking from personal experience, and like it actually is a lot. It steps on my toes often. So like I'm trying not to be pissed off because I know he's smart and whatever, but like I get what he's trying to say, but we'll proceed 10 more minutes and hopefully he doesn't crush my heart, Anton. Come on, keep going, man. You're smarter than this.
By either known objects, natural phenomena, or simple hoax. But in 2026, in order to divert our attention from, maybe some economic problems, possibly some war, or some other undisclosed documents involving some unusual characters, the United States government has now officially released even more of these files under the initiative referred to as Presidential Unsealing and Reporting System for UAP Encounters, PRUSU for short. And even though they released over 160 files, some even dating back to the Apollo moon missions, the majority are sort of like this. But the ones from the Apollo missions are possibly interesting because they might be showing us some kind of a visual phenomenon that is not familiar to us, assuming of course this is real. Now for example this, it's not entirely clear what this is, but it is possible to be some kind of an electrical effect produced by the static on the moon, although the majority of scientists so far concluded that, in most cases, this is possibly either the reflections of sunlight from the lens or an effect produced by high-energy cosmic rays hitting the camera sensors, which is very, very likely since, by being on the moon, the astronauts were actually experiencing a lot more cosmic radiation than what we're used to right here on planet Earth. But because this was just released like a few days ago, I'm not really going to speculate about this anymore, except that I'm definitely going to guide you to this channel, where Mick West is most likely going to go through all of them individually in the next few months. This is essentially the only channel that's worth watching if you're interested in an actual explanation for what we're seeing in most of these videos. We'll talk about some of the Mick's discoveries in a few minutes. But in essence, so far, even though this might sound fascinating, because I like to maintain a very skeptical, fact-based approach, here none of this right now seems unusual or in any way extraordinary, involving something out of this world. For example, in this video that was circulating a few weeks back, Mick West has already definitively shown that this extraordinary motion of this bizarre object was once again just the unfortunate result of someone inexperienced watching this video and not understanding what they're looking at. And so this object that appears to weave through a wind farm, in reality actually moves in a very straight line, with the illusion of erratic movement simply being caused by the drone operator moving the camera with a joystick, and the drone capturing this, moving by 180 degrees and creating a parallax effect. Yet somehow this was once again turned into this extraordinary story of some kind of a super technology. This was a balloon, just so that we're clear. The video by Mick in the description explains exactly what we're looking at. And so in pretty much most of these videos, there is a very simple optical illusion explanation, where some kind of a slow-moving object, usually a balloon, appears to move super fast because the camera itself is moving very fast too. But much more importantly, we did have two separate scientific reports in the last couple of years that came to identical conclusions. And the first report was from AARO, All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, that was led by Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, who testified in front of Congress after reviewing over 650 individual reports. And so here we're talking about an actual physicist who went through all of these files and who definitively concluded that there is basically nothing unusual going on. Nothing exhibited evidence of either extraterrestrial activity or technology that defies laws of physics, with the emphasis being that the majority of cases involved either balloons, drone swarms, or, more recently, in a lot of cases, the visual reflections from Starlink satellites that were moving across space and reflected the light in such a way that it appeared to be something bizarre. As a matter of fact, most of the reports from pilots in the last few years were all attributed to Starlink. But apart from his report, we also had an independent report by NASA that reached pretty much the same conclusion. No signs of aliens anywhere, no signs of unusual spacecraft, every single phenomenon observed was either the result of parallax or some kind of a terrestrial phenomenon that was just misidentified, with NASA's main recommendation also suggesting that relying on these blurry or vague pictures is just not going to get us anywhere, and is really not how science should be done at all. And while we cannot talk about aliens and stuff without mentioning this guy. Now, Avi Loeb obviously has also been doing his own stuff.
Oh my god, I'm so tired of talking about Avi Loeb. Fuck. Okay, so I already know what he has to say about this. This is so ridiculous. Okay. So they want somebody to go through the files individually. I went through the files all within 2 days on my channel, but you see I'm shadow banned, so fuck me, right? Okay, so anyway, I guess I'll have to go through each individual file and make a video on each individual file like a fucking moron. But if you couldn't just find my stream and watch me do it, then I mean, it's insane. Plus, I know that one of my 20-hour streams got cut, and I actually deleted it because it wasn't uploading on purpose. So, and the video was redacted. I couldn't even take any video footage from it. Like, I tried to screen record over it if I can't get it uploaded, but yeah, so I'm gonna have to redo them eventually, but this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Parallax? Do you understand parallax? Oh my god. When you see something like go up at the speed of light and you see it blur yourself, do you think that's parallax? No, what do you think that is? I thought it was a drone for a long time. With some type of light drone from an ET, not necessarily a drone that we have. I never thought for once that that was something that we have. Actually, I fought for a very long time in my head, and then I came up with the conclusion once I left the Air Force that there was nothing like that. They didn't have anywhere close to that. And if they did, it was so deep and buried and compartmentalized that any ordinary person would see it and be able to leak the information out. So that's what I'm trying to get at. It would just be hearsay, and then hearing people like this saying you just need a greenie. Dude, do you understand how many millions of dollars it took to make that camera, to make it even capture these things? These things are like they operate with plasma toroidal physics. They're like toroid. They're like magnet pole shifting. It's basically looking at an Einstein-Rosen bridge, basically but a dot of it. And like, you're gonna sit here and you're gonna debate me when you can't even understand like how a camera is supposed to even take a picture of that and make it look crisp for your petty eyes. Like, this is what I'm trying to get at. Like, I get your big brain mentality, but like, this right here is like, you have to see it to believe it, and I saw it, so you guys are basically slapping me in the face. So I'm getting a little pissed off here. All you big brain badasses you used to like actually kind of look up to a little bit of you, but like, this is beginning to be too political, too what the fuck ever this is. So you really think it's parallax? I'm gonna have to like, I'm actually gonna have to change my plans from gaming to do this UFO files tonight. I wasn't going to, but I'm going to. This has pissed me off too much.
And has produced a few papers, along with several other researchers, based on the Galileo project at Harvard. And essentially here, they are trying to build these ground-based observatories in order to have calibrated instruments and in order to conduct a kind of an aerial survey. So basically, instead of relying on these blurry pictures or eyewitnesses, they're trying to make this a little bit more scientific and objective. And so they're trying to track the skies using specific cameras. But after conducting a 5-month-long test and capturing 500,000 individual objects, they discovered that the vast majority were just birds, planes, leaves, with only 144 cases remaining ambiguous. But not like UFO ambiguous, instead just resembling something that was very difficult to identify, but nothing unusual. You can learn about the results from the study in the description below. And so basically that's where we kind of are. Right now, nobody really knows exactly what's going on and what any of these pictures are.
I do!
But we are getting some studies here and there, with some scientists trying to pursue this. But we should also not forget the historical context of the Roswell incident in 1947, because technically this is how it all started. This fueled decades of alien theories and sightings of flying discs, But as we know today, based on a lot of facts, this was all a result of a secret project referred to as Project Mogul. And that's because in the pre-satellite era, United States tried to spy on the Soviet Union by using these long trains of high-altitude balloons in order to listen to Soviet atomic bomb tests and to analyze the data. Here's roughly how big these balloons were. But because one of them crashed and the government decided to cover this up with the weather balloon story, except that it just looks super weird, this eventually led to the alien myth that we have today. A myth that just refuses to die. And so, based on all of this, what have we learned so far, and what do we actually know? Well, factually, not much. We know that UAPs are a real concern for aviation safety and national security, which is why the government has been watching them and studying them for the past few years. But we also know that so far pretty much everything has been confirmed to be either a drone, a balloon, or some kind of a satellite glint, and not something extraordinary and unexplainable. And while a small percentage of cases still remain unexplained, it's really because of lack of data and lack of good pictures, and not because it's something paranormal.
Nope.
But obviously pictures like this, and even maybe pictures like this, could point at some kind of a new phenomenon, assuming this is something physical and not just the result of cosmic rays hitting the camera. Except that even in this case, any kind of extraordinary claims will still require extraordinary evidence. And even after many decades, we just don't have strong enough evidence to make any conclusions. Which for someone that's skeptical, like me, means that I'm just gonna wait and stick to the data and actual physical observations. Right now, I don't really see anything paranormal anywhere. But like I said in the beginning, chances are that in the next 50 to 60 years, we might be seeing this particular period in a very similar light to how we see this. This bizarre search for spirits from the beyond is actually driven by a very similar curiosity and the desire for answers as what's basically happening right now. At least that's my 2 cents. But anyway, if there are any scientific discoveries worth mentioning in the next few years, I'll definitely come back and discuss this more in future videos. Until then, check out some of the previous videos on the topic, including the one that investigates alleged UFO sightings inside astronomical fleets based on a project known as POS. And well, even here, the answer is very mundane and does not involve anything extraordinary. On that note, thank you for watching, subscribe, come back tomorrow to learn something else, support the channel Patreon where you can find additional videos without any ads and can DM me directly, or by joining a channel membership that grants you early access. You can also support the channel by buying the Wonderful Person t-shirt in the description below. Stay wonderful, I'll see you tomorrow, and as always, bye bye.
Okay, well that's going to be the end of the show for now. I'm going to come back and after I eat and tackle the UFO files now again, because people seem to think that this is still a hoax. I'm going to lose my mind. Okay, so you guys have a great night. If you like this kind of content, share it. Make sure you have a great rest of your evening, and thank you for joining. And if you're watching this later, thank you again, sincerely, from the bottom of my heart. All right, have a great rest of your night, or day, evening.